Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today. Welcome to my In Conversation with series. This is Anna Green and Cheradon. Hello, Cheradon. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. I'm really good.
Good. Good. So we're here today to have a bit of a chat, to share some insights into what Cheradon does for a living, to maybe give you some helpful hints and tips out there as well. So let's get cracking. Cheradon, tell people about yourself.
So, I'm Cheradon, obviously. I am a mum of four. I am a grandma to six, and a dog mum and a wife, and all of those other things that we all are. And I have been with the Body Shop now for 6.5 years. Prior to that, I was a primary school teacher, and I lived under a cloud. I lived under a cloud for about 10 years. And when I look back on reflection, I cannot believe how miserable I was for such a long time. But when you are in it, you kind of feel like there's nothing else out there for you, that you're stuck, that you can't make a change. You've got financial things sort of over your head and financial commitments. As a primary school teacher, I spent my life in a room with 3 children. I was lucky if I had a classroom support assistant, and I didn't think I got anything to offer. Didn't think I got any skills. What on earth could I do? Who would want somebody who had spent their adult life locked in a room with children? It was just like, and then I was moaning to my oldest son about how miserable I was one day. I sat having a cup of coffee and telling him how I felt, and he just sort of looked at me and said, Mum, when we were little, you were Mum, and then you were Mrs. Kenyon, and now you're Mrs. Kenyon, and then you are Mum, and you've got nothing left. And it was perhaps the hardest statement I've ever heard in my life. It was like a slap in the face, but it was the wake-up call that I needed. So I didn't do this in the conventional way. I left teaching, jumped out into sort of the great abyss, and stumbled across the Body Shop at home about 18 months later, having done supply and things like that, because I still believed there was nothing else out there for me other than education. But I realised I didn't want to teach anymore. And I joined, really, tongue-in-cheek. It was just an excuse to convince myself that I was actually doing something to earn some money, and I hadn't thrown a career down the pan, which a lot of my family kind of thought I'd done. Not my husband. My husband has been amazing the whole time. And I went into it thinking, I've used the products since I was about 19. I can remember watching Anita Roddick on the television, campaigning with placards and stuff and Save the Whale, and I loved all that sort of thing. And I just thought, well, I've got nothing to lose. I won't like it. I won't last, and I won't make any money. Wow. Wrong on every level. It is very rare in life that I am lost for words. As a teacher, you learn to wing it, and even when you've got nothing to come to your mind, you can still manage to keep on talking. And I did my first party, my launch party. I ordered my kit, joined on the 3rd of March, and my kit arrived a couple of days later. And I kind of just looked at it for a few days and then thought, actually, you can get free products if you do something within your first period of time. It was called SSPs then. I am going to do this. I'm going to do a party, invited people, and I can still remember my sister now, who was one of my best friends, laughing. She was absolutely howling with laughter because I was lost for words, and I felt so nervous. Put me in front of a hall of children, 600 children, and I'd be fine. But here I was with my friends and ex-colleagues and all sat in my front room, lost for words, literally. But once I'd actually got over that, something switched inside me, and I thought, oh my gosh, I love this. What on earth is going on? And it just all started flowing out of my mouth. I did have cue cards behind me, which I kind of forgot were there and ignored. And in my very first party in March, I sold £540 worth of products. Wow. And it was like, wow, that was just, how have I earned money from doing that? It was great. I had a fabulous time with people who I loved, and it was fantastic, and it kind of just grew from there. And it sounds a little bit cliche, really, but I really haven't ever looked back. Yes, working for yourself is a roller coaster. You have days where you're up here and days where you're down there. But yeah, I would. I can't imagine doing anything else. I can't imagine working for anybody else, and I can't imagine not being part of what I'm part of now.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
It's a different life, totally from what a normal person like you were, like I was before I found direct selling. It's just so different. And I think everybody should give it a go at least once, for definite.
Definitely. And I think what you said there about normal person, I think I spent a really long time I used to say in my proper job, I was a primary school teacher, but I don't do that now. And the dialogue in my head was that I wasn't doing something real, but actually, as my business grew, I was earning what I was earning when I was teaching and loving every minute of it. It did get a little bit carried away and I did become a little bit obsessed with it because I loved it so much. It kind of completely consumed me, to the point where my husband said to me one day, he said, do you think you might as well just go back to teaching if this is what you're going to do? And it's like, no, because I might be working a lot of hours, but it's my choice and I love it. And, I was so excited about it all. It is totally different. So yeah. I just love and I love what the company stands for.
Yeah, so your journey with Body Shop has been phenomenal, hasn't it? You've achieved so many things. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you ended up getting from it?
Yeah. Well, I've had so many things. Self-belief is not something that's my strong point, and I do always kind of think there are people out there who deserve things more than me. But I am just sort of celebrating. It's 4 years ago. I was actually in Ghana, meeting our share suppliers, meeting Madam Fatty, who was a lady. She's like the Ghanaian version of Anita Roddick. And I was one of 4 consultants chosen from the UK. And I think I very nearly didn't apply. Were it not for my husband, I wouldn't be sat here saying this now, but he's literally my biggest champion, really. And I can remember sitting with him on the deadline day and he said, have you sent that application? Because I'd hit all the criteria and I'd done all the things. And he said, have you sent that application in? And I was like, no. And he's like, why not? And I went through this list of people and I can remember showing him all these amazing people because there's so many wonderful, in any business, I think that there's so many inspiring people around us, and it is predominantly women. I mean, we do have men in the Body Shop now, as I'm sure they do in other businesses as well, but it is predominantly women. And I looked at this list and I could tick off 10 people I thought should be going, and obviously they were only taking 4. So I was like, why on earth would they sort of choose me? And he just turned around and said, send the application. He says, I know for a fact that people will be start looking at you with exactly the same sort of thoughts in their head. He said, send it in, you've got nothing to lose. So I sent it in. I can still remember the day. It was in July when they announced who was going. And I was sat with my oldest friend who I used to go to school with, secondary school. We've been friends since we were 11. And she said to me, when did you find out about that trip? And I said, oh, it's today at 1:00. She's like, well, what are you doing? Get your phone out. What is it? I said, oh, they're going live. And I can remember her saying to me, get on it now. And it's like, no, I don't want to watch it. It'll spoil our lunch. Let's just have our lunch and I'll check later. She says, no, we are not doing that. Put it on. And we had it playing. And there's this poor chap sat at the side of us and he was like on his computer eating his lunch, minding his own business. And it came on and they do this thing, don't they, head offices and things where they talk for ages and they don't get to the point and they get like wait for so many people. And this went on for a while, and then they said they were going to announce the names, and my name was the first name out, and we both let out this unbelievable noise. I didn't actually think I was capable of making a noise like this in public, and the poor guy at the side of me nearly had a heart attack. He nearly fell off his chair. He was so shocked. We had to explain to him, what was going on, and it felt very unreal. Even as we landed in Ghana, I can remember saying, and the other 4 girls that I were with were all saying, we're going to Ghana. We're in Ghana. How are we here? How are we here? But we did. And we got to see firsthand how, business really can be used as a force for good. seeing these women who had met Anita Roddick 26 years earlier, who were voiceless and invisible and had nothing, then become, through a trading relationship, so empowered that they were the biggest income earners over 11 villages, that the community premium that they receive on top of their fair pay had gone into their communities, and they sit on a council and decide where it's spent. And there were children wearing school uniforms. They built 7 schools, and they'd got a maternity ward, and they'd got a children's clinic, and they'd got a flushing toilet. I mean, it's not a flushing toilet like you or I would think of a flushing toilet, but it was a flushing toilet. They'd got clean water, they'd got sanitation. Their lives had changed, but it was driven by their own actions. It wasn't an age thing, so there was no dependency. And gosh, I don't think I've ever cried as much in my life ever. And to sort of see, because we knew there was a story that we'd been told by Lee Mann, who was the head of community fair trade in the Body Shop. And when Anita met them at first, and they had nothing, in the Ghanaian culture, if you leave, you have to have your best outfit, what would have been our Sunday best back in the day when we used to do things like that. And they were not allowed to leave the village unless they were dressed appropriately. But there was one dress in the village, and you had to ask for it. So if 2 women needed to go out on the same day, only one could go because there was only one dress. These women now own 5, 6 dresses that they could wear. I mean, it's life-changing stuff. Just amazing. It's and sort of seeing how they work, and they're in a safe environment, and they've got Barclays bank accounts. These women now leave the village on their own, go to their own bank account, and have their own money, and that's through a trading relationship. It's business as a force of good, which is why I'm with the Body Shop, because I just love that. The more than.
Yeah,
it's
very similar to how I see network marketing, really, because you are part of this bigger thing that allows you to use their products, their branding, their reputation to go out there and change your life. And so many people don't use that to its full advantage, because it's up to you. Those people over in Ghana could have sat there and done nothing with it, but they chose to take action. That is exactly what happens in network marketing. And you're given this massive opportunity to go out there and change your life. Totally changed my life because I took action. And I know it's changed yours.
Definitely, yeah. And it's that ripple, isn't it? It's that little ripple. So you take small action, and it ripples out, and it ripples out to your customers, and it ripples out to people who want to join your business, and it ripples out to your providers. And everything you do has a big picture. And I think that's really powerful. And to be part of something like that, to be part of that community. One of the things that we all sort of noticed very quickly when we were in Ghana, we went with very Western eyes, and all around us, not even in the villages. I mean, poverty was rife, but not like it was outside in Ghana. And I've never seen poverty like it. I've never, ever seen anything like it. But very, very quickly, we realised that we were looking at it wrong through our Western eyes, because they were rich in so many ways that we'd lost, and it was the community and togetherness. And I think, like you say, as a network marketer, you become part of something bigger, and you develop that community and that connection with people, and that is such a powerful thing to be part of.
It is, and so worth so much more than money.
So much more. It's not all about the money, is it? But we've got to earn a living, but you might as well earn a living doing something that fills you with passion and inspires you.
Absolutely. And the way I see it, and I see my whole business like this, if I want to make an impact, we want to make an impact in some way, especially if we are with a company with such an ethos as Body Shop, or many of the others out there that have this mission. I have a mission. And the more I earn, the more impact I can have.
Yeah.
And that's the way I see, because I know a lot of people in this industry struggle with the fact that they're making money by selling products to friends and family and whoever else. Actually, the more you can do that, the more you can sell your products, the more you can get them into people's hands, the bigger impact you can make on so many more lives. whether that is through your team that you're building, whether that is through the people you're helping, whether that is through donating to charity or providing for your family. That's big.
Yeah, massive. It's life changing. I mean, I can still remember when somebody, a consultant who joined my business, she was on maternity leave at the time. I can remember when I can still hear this giant breath in that she took before she told me that she'd handed a notice in and she wasn't going back. And that was so exciting for me. I mean, that was better than any pay packet I could get, because that was life-changing for her. And it's been part of things like that as well. I mean, it is, there's nothing like it, is there? There's nothing like it out there.
No,
and I think it's a very misunderstood industry. I think you work hard, you get paid well, and like you say, you literally are changing life. And it's in your hands. It's down to you. It's down to what you do, how you do it. And it's about looking to people around you, isn't it? And actually drawing on their expertise and stuff, and actually taking it on board. There is a danger, isn't there, of falling into the learning trap. I look at my self-development books that I've got, and I think, how many of those have I actually actioned that I thought were wonderful? So there is the danger of like just soaking it all up and not actioning it. But it's taking those little daily actions that move your business forward. And we've just had our conference, and somebody, a really inspirational leader, was on stage, and she just sort of said, an hour a day. Have you got an hour a day? That's all you need. And it's like, what? It just puts it into context as to what you can do in such a short time.
Yeah. Well, talking of conference, tell us all about it. You just had an amazing weekend.
We have just had an amazing weekend. Yeah. I mean, I think if there was a way to actually capture what you get from a conference and put it in a bottle and have a swig of it every morning when you get out of bed, how amazing would your life be? It's just incredible, the feeling that you get from them and the inspiration that you see. And one of the things, I mean, I love listening to other people's stories. I love seeing how other people have done and how they've succeeded. And, and I think one of the things is when you're looking and you're watching from the outside and these people, or you've just had a coffee, you've been in the queue chatting to them, getting a cup of coffee, and they are just normal people. And yet they've done incredible things with the business and the life. I think it is just so empowering, because you just look and you think, well, if they can do it, I can do it. It is achievable. It's not, it is something for everything. And I think you get so many snippets. There's so many people, and it happens with any training, really. I mean, I go to absolutely any training I can, and if I don't, I am one of these people who catches up on lives and rewatches things, and just because, so everybody around the table has got something to offer. Everybody. I think it doesn't matter where you are in the business. Everybody's got something to bring to the table. And I think if you are open to listening to other people's ideas and listening to what's being said and really, really taking on board and watching and being motivated and inspired, I think you can actually get so much that you can then adapt to your own personality. I think you have to do that. I don't believe that you can take somebody's idea and just like put it out there as yours, because you're not them. And it is this thing about your own personality. But there's so many inspiring people in this industry who have got just so much to offer and so much experience and advice. I mean, you're one of them. You really are one of them. It's just listening to, sometimes as well, you've just got to hear it again. It might not be anything new, but sometimes hearing it from a different voice, or just hearing it again. I mean, I'm really excited that this Christmas is all about community fair trade. I think that just needs to be out there. I can stand on my soapbox and talk about that till the cows come home. I don't like knocking on people's door. I would never do anything like that. I don't even see myself as a salesperson, really, although I obviously am. But that is where mine comes from. So I'm super excited about that. But the inspiration and the motivation that you get from in-person training, Zoom training, whatever, but a conference, if you can go to a conference or whatever your company calls them, I would always advise going. I've never missed one, and I don't ever plan to miss one, because I think you can't You just can't buy what you get from it.
No, you can't. And yeah, a lot of the time you pay to go, and it's quite expensive because then you have your hotel as well, and your ticket and your food, but what you will learn and then implement will well and truly cover that cost. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
The experience of it, they're phenomenal. They really are. I'm like you, I would never miss a conference. I went to every single one. I do miss them though. I have to say I do miss them. I need inviting to one. If anybody's listening and wants to invite me to come and speak at their conference, hello. I want to go to conferences again. Yeah, they are brilliant.
There's an energy in the room. There's an energy in the room of a conference. There is something, you can't even describe it. It's electric. And I think, even people you don't know, everybody is rooting for everybody else. When you see somebody on the stage and they've achieved something, you don't even have to know that person personally, but you are up there on your feet, clapping and cheering and really behind them, and it's a genuine thing. That's not in a lot of industries. You don't see things like that. I do think there is something so powerful in that sort of community that you get and being part of something bigger, and it's massive. It's massive. I love it.
Yeah, I remember the first ever conference I went to back in, oh crikey, do I dare say 2008? I think it was 2008. So a long time ago. And I remember walking in and I didn't know anybody. My upline leader was going to be there, but I'd met her once. I didn't know anybody else in this room full of about 1,500 people. And I remember walking in and everyone being so friendly and supportive and chatting away. And I was sat in the big conference hall watching these people go up on stage. And I remember sitting there going, I want that. That's what I want. I want to be up on those stages next year. They announced the holiday, the incentive trip when I was there. I want to be on that incentive trip. Did I get it? No, I didn't get it, but I aimed for it and I got it the next year. There was no stopping me from that day. And I swear that it was that conference that drove me to do and be as successful as I was. And people that are missing out on them, don't miss out. If you can go, if you can watch one online, if you can be part of it in some way, shape or form, do it. Honestly, do it.
Definitely. There is, like I say, if you could literally put it in a bottle, what you get, and have a sip every day, you'd just be like on it all the time. It's just like that fire it gives you, motivates you, but beyond anything, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So before we disappear off, have you got anything you would like to share with the audience? Any top tips? Any pearls of wisdom?
I would say be yourself. Don't change anybody else because you're not. I think it's so important to be you, and remember that everybody that's in your group, everybody that's your customer, everybody that's in your team, they're there because they're like you. You don't have to be anybody else or aspire to be like anybody else. You just have to be you. I would make sure that you look to people who inspire you and learn from them and talk to them and really turn up at any training, whatever it is, whether it's 5 people around a coffee table in somebody's house. If you get invited, go. And be consistent. And people tell you to be consistent, and it is, I think it's one of the most difficult things to do, be consistent, because we all have days where we don't feel like it and we're tired or everything else. But being consistent and turning up every day as yourself and just touching base with your business is game breaking. It changes it big time.
Yeah.
And enjoy it. Totally. It is fun. Yeah. You have to work hard if you want to, you can't sit there. Anybody that sells things like this as a get rich quick is like, it's not true sort of thing. You do have, you get out of it what you put into it. But if you're prepared to put into it, there's no capping, is there? It's open to everybody. And I think that's another thing that's incredible. It doesn't matter where you are in it. There's no cap on top of it. Nobody, you can go wherever you want to go with it if you're prepared to really sort of invest your time and effort into it.
Absolutely. It's exciting stuff. Thank you so much, Cheradon, for sharing all that with us today. Where can people find you on your socials?
I am. I'm on Instagram as Cheradon Kenyon, but I will hold my hand up and say I don't do very much on there, but it is on my list to do more. I have a Facebook group called Rise Up Be You, and that's looking at, it's Body Shop with self-love and self-development, because I think that's part of, I think all of us that join this sort of business go on a self-development journey, and I think sharing that with other people is important.
Brilliant.
I'm just Cheradon Kenyon on Facebook.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I will pop the links below for where you can find Cheradon. And thank you very much for having a chat with me this afternoon.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.